So, first of all, I'm just going to talk about the difference between light and sound, because I know this sounds obvious, but light is very directional. Someone can be hidden around a corner and you can't see them, but yet they can talk to you and you're going to be able to hear them. And consequently, sound is like that. It can get through doors, it can get through windows, it basically invades everything. And just to show you a quick demo, here's a nice light. See how nice light that is. You can see that if we put something transparent over that, obviously we can still see the light. This is first grade stuff, but we put something opaque over that, and you've pretty much hidden the light. If only it were that easy with sound, we'd have a much easier situation. So I won't go any farther than that. But we can think about 4th of July fireworks, one of my favorite things. It's pretty easy if you don't like fireworks to go put yourself inside your house and close the windows and not see them. But you're still going to hear them, right? No matter what. So the purpose of this demonstration is just to show you how difficult it is to contain sound. Now, they're not making any claims that the stadium is going to completely contain the sound, but they're making some claims about things like canopies and so forth, which I'm going to try to show you just doesn't hold water. So let's just start out. Let's try to contain sound first. Here's my sound source. Very sophisticated beer can with a radio inside it.
On the tri-state before Crawford with an accident in the left lane. The eastbound Eden.
All right, so there's our sound source.
Kennedy is an hour and 10 minutes now heading outbound.
And what we're going to do is, turn it off just for a second, is I'm going to have a soft surface down here because I want to take this really heavy wine cooler, which is solid on top. I'm going to put this on a soft surface so it gives us a nice seal, and we'll show you just how nicely that can contain this sound source. Pretty much gone. So why is that? Well, this is massive, so the sound can't move it very well. And this soft surface down here seals it up, so there's no air leaks. But watch it, just a little tiny air leak. Doesn't take much. But you do that, and it's virtually gone. So that would be great. And really, like for example, they were talking about having concerts in the arena. I can't remember what's the name of it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Ryan Field, right?
Right, but inside, the building inside.
Welsh Ryan Arena.
Oh,
Yeah,
Welsh Ryan.
and that never came about, but I did some checking on that, and that actually is a building within a building, and it probably be pretty good, but we don't know. But here's a situation where
18% of your dad's out there.
all right. Now, let's take something that's a lot lighter in weight, cardboard, and see how well it does. Now, it's still going to be closed on the top, right? And the only difference is the mass.
Gourmet food. Go back to that survey for a second. You know my dad's want beef.
Doesn't do much. That's because that sound can move this and turn this into a drum. We can try a piece of plastic if you want.
Fathers want to eat an Omaha steak.
Virtually nothing. So what does it mean? So you got to have mass, and you got to have no openings for this to work. So let's change one thing. Now let's go to, they're going to build a really massive stadium, or venue, I should say, and we're going to put this inside here. But now the top's open. Right? This is still the same. This is still the same. But now the top's open. And you can see it doesn't do much. All right. So now we're going to cover with something massive. Does a pretty good job. But now you can't make a ceiling that heavy or a top that heavy. It's going to have to be something of lightweight. So we're going to do something lightweight. We're going to use this, a lightweight cover. Going to cover the entire venue. Somewhat, but again, this is completely closed. But let's take the canopy design. Here's our canopy, right? Doesn't cover the entire thing, covers part of it.
I wish I had a sound meter. It sounds identical.
Yeah, well, I got a sound meter here. We're going to look at that later. No canopy. Canopy. Sorry, canopy's not going to help. It's that simple. They talk about it'll create an acoustic shadow. Well, yeah, but sound's going to come out here. Sound wavelengths are tens of feet long. They're just going to come out and go like this. And go ahead. So this idea of the canopy, it may give them some shade, it may keep some of the sound that's being coming out of the distributed sound system in the stadium in there, but for the concert sound, that could be the case. So you see, you need mass. You need to have something that's sealed up real well. Turn that off. You can't. Canopy doesn't do anything. And these are just the fundamentals of sound and how sound gets through everything. It's that simple, you know. And these are not exactly the same materials, but the concepts are the same.
Yeah.
You might remember this when the space shuttle blew up, right?
Oh yeah.
And then Feynman was there, and he took the O-ring and he dipped it in his ice water and said, "See what happens to this O-ring when it gets cold?" This was the problem. The physics is the same. So this is not a stadium design, but the concepts are the same.
Yeah.
So that's the general gist of this. For a performance, for a show that's going to have 10,000, 20,000 people, load-in can take multiple days. I mean, you know, really big shows up to a week. There's a friend of mine in the industry who does Bocelli, the blind singer, right? The blind opera singer. That's one guy who sings with an orchestra. Their load-in takes 5 days.
Yeah.
5 days. So this is not, you know, a concert is not just 2 hours or 3 hours of noise. A concert is an entire week of that. So load-in's problem number one. And then while we're at it, we'll just talk about load-out too. So load-out happens as soon as the concert's over.
Midnight,
11 o'clock, goes all night, goes the next day, goes however long it takes for these people to get everything loaded up and on their way to the next venue. So as far as I understand, there are very strict Evanston laws about when noise can be made for construction. Seems to me that load-in and load-out is construction. I mean, that's what I have to say.
it's just noise. It should.
Right.
It's the same noise. Noise is noise.
Exactly. So you got load-in, you got load-out. Now let's talk about the general terms there are. So the first thing we have to be concerned about is staging. This is building a stage for the performers to be on. And those stages are made out of metal and wood. Allegedly, they're supposed to be in the south corner or the south end of the stadium. But you can imagine hammering, sawing, everything else you need to create staging. And that could take at least a day or day and a half to construct. We have what's called the FOH system, front of house. What that means is that's the loudspeakers which are set up for the people to hear in the audience. And those are typically hung above the stage. They're usually kind of in a slight curve and aimed down at the audience. This is the system that's going to, if anything's going to disturb the neighborhood, it's going to be the front of house system, without a doubt. Because, number one, there is a front of house engineer, and that is the key person. He's the person that by moving a volume control an inch could really destroy the neighborhood's, you know, solitude or bring it back. And that front of house engineer does not work for the city of Evanston. He does not work for Northwestern. He works for the production company that is hired by the artist, or he works for the artist himself. So who's he going to please? That's a pretty simple one. And if the artist says, "I want it louder because the audience wants it louder," he's going to go turn it up. And there is not any penalty that the city can inflict upon these people after the fact that's going to cause them any harm. You know, here's a $500 fine. Fine. We just made $2 million tonight. So that's just ridiculous to think about it. Now, I'm not saying front of house engineers are not sensitive to the neighborhood. They are, as a matter of fact, but they don't report to the neighborhood, and they're gone the next day, right? So you have to do that. So the front of house engineer is really an important person. And he's the one that it's mostly he's, there are some she's, they're the one that are going to disturb it. So you get the front of house system, the front of house engineer that runs that. There's a monitor system that's on stage for the musicians to hear. That's typically not the major cause of noise, but it's an additional cause of noise, right? You've got what's called the back line. That's the drums, that's guitar amps, that's everything that's not vocals. Those make noise just on themselves. Of course, then they're amplified through the front of house systems. So those are noisy as well. You've got the lighting system. Lighting system is not going to make noise, but it could give you some noise pollution, right? But how about pyrotechnics? A lot of acts use fireworks. And, you know, are they going to set fireworks off at 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night? If it's part of the show, they will. And what's going to stop them, right? Oh, we have a contract here with Northwestern. Anyways. Communication systems. That's for the people to communicate behind the scenes. They're using walkie-talkies to talk to the lighting and talk to the audio guys and so forth. That has to be coordinated ahead of time with police and fire because they're all using the same type of frequencies. And if that's not done, you can see what's going to happen there, right? So we have that aspect of it. We have portable power. Sometimes these bands come in and they've got so much power that the local power at the stadium can't produce enough. What do they bring in? Generator trucks. Those generator trucks.
I was going to ask you
Those
about
generator
that.
trucks run 24/7 to keep the power up. That's another thing. Temporary Wi-Fi systems. Everybody goes to a show now. They want to stream it to their friends. They want to be on the phones. Well, believe me, the local network that we have here is not going to be able to handle all of a sudden 20,000 people streaming. So that means they're going to have to set up a temporary Wi-Fi system of some sort. And if they don't do it, then all the mobile phones around here are going to be compromised. People may not be able to get onto the mobile network if they have a fire or an emergency or something like that. Have we thought about that? I don't think so. Technical rehearsals. You know, the show just doesn't start. At least a day ahead of time, and well, certainly the day of, they're going to have 3 or 4 hours of technical rehearsals. Ramping up the sound system, does it work? They may run through certain tunes or not. They certainly would do lighting and video as well. Right. So, I mean, one major act comes in there, and it's a week-long thing. It's not just one day. It's not just 3 hours. There's load in, there's setup, there's hubbub until the act leaves.
And what would you say, like, for a concert of 10,000 people? Because I hear that smaller concerts are kind of popular as well these days.
Yeah, could be.
Would the set-in, the noise, the generate, would all that
It would just
apply?
it all still apply. It would just be less of it. So maybe a 10,000 seat, someone pulls 10,000 seat, maybe they've got 4 or 5 semis. You know, it's hard to tell. So there's a company called Claire Global, and it's in that document I handed out. And, you know, I urge you, when you get a chance, look up Claire Global. This is a company based in Pennsylvania that puts together these tours. And these are who the artists hire to come and do all this. Well-respected company. They buy a lot of our products. Thank you, Claire Global. But if you look at that, you'll get an idea about what it requires to do this. So this is not like Ravinia. Ravinia is a stage that's already set, a sound system that's already set, and if I'm going to play Ravinia, I have to use their sound system, which is preset for levels. So Ravinia knows how loud it can be. They've already worked out with their neighbors how loud they can turn things out, so that's very controlled. What Northwestern is talking about is what happens at Soldier Field and Wrigley Field. That's what you got to compare it to, not to Ravinia. Because when Wrigley Field's done, they bring in all the staging, they load in, they do everything. Now, it may be for bigger amount of fans, maybe for 40,000 fans, maybe something like that. But no matter what.
In the 40s.
So what the city should do is find out how it happens at Wrigley or how it happens at Soldier Field, not look at Ravinia. Ravinia is a special case. And so what's special about Ravinia, it is in a residential area, but the staging is already there. And the sound system is already here, and that's different than what would happen over here. So that's what's in this document that I gave you. Pretty much all lined up. I gave this to the city so that they understand all these terms. But the primary thing is that it's just more than just 3 hours of noise and concert sound. It's everything else that goes along with it.